Hello, I'm Iona Bain and I'm a financial writer, broadcaster, author and longtime friend of young Scott. And today I'm here to talk about Buy Now Pay Later. What is it? How does it work? And what do you need to know if you're thinking about using it? Let me spill the tea. What is Buy Now Pay Later? Well, you've probably heard of it, you might even have used it, and you will definitely have come across it when you're shopping online. It's offered by most big retailers at the checkout these days, but usually through separate companies that handle the whole process on their behalf. These companies in the UK include Klarna, Lay-Buy and ClearPay, but there are a few more. Buy Now Pay Later does what it says on the tin. It's a service that allows you to buy one or more items now with a retailer, and then you can choose to pay the final bill later, say in a month's time. How does that work? Well, Buy Now Pay Later is a type of credit. That means you're being lent money. Say you buy £30 worth of items and choose Buy Now Pay Later. You're borrowing that £30 from the Buy Now Pay Later firm to cover the cost of those items. A few weeks later, you pay that £30 back. But crucially, you only pay for items you actually end up keeping. So if you do a lot of online shopping and end up having to return stuff, maybe clothes that don't fit you as well as you'd hoped, then usually you'd have to wait for that money to be refunded, right? But with Buy Now Pay Later, you can buy £30 worth of clothes, send back, say, £20 worth of clothes that don't fit, and in the end, you'll only part with a tenner. Buy Now Pay Later firms often provide other types of credit too, such as the option to split your payments into monthly instalments, kind of like a loan. But the main product offered by these firms is Buy Now Pay Later, and it's marketed as cheaper, more flexible and more accessible than credit cards for two reasons. Firstly, you don't have to pay interest on the money you owe. Interest, by the way, is the extra sum we usually have to pay when we borrow money. So if you borrow £100 at a rate of 8%, you have to pay back £108. But if you buy £30 worth of clothes through Buy Now Pay Later, you only pay £30. Secondly, when you apply for Buy Now Pay Later, you won't have to go through a hard credit check. What's a credit check? It's basically when lenders look at your credit history, which can be found on something called your credit report, and this gives lenders an idea of how you've borrowed in the past. You can have a hard credit check, which is more in-depth, and a soft credit check. Now, the hard credit check can be problematic because these are registered on your credit report, and too many of those in a short space of time can damage your credit rating, which is a really important number that grades us as borrowers. Essentially, the higher the number, the better we look to lenders and the more likely we are to be approved for credit and borrow at lower rates in the future. Now, when Buy Now Pay Later firms weigh us up for credit, usually they only do a soft credit check, which doesn't show up on our credit report. So all in all, if you pay back what you owe on time, Buy Now Pay Later can be quite an easy and low-cost way to borrow small sums compared to a credit card or a loan. So, what's the problem? Well, not all Buy Now Pay Later firms are the same. Each one comes with different rules, and if you don't follow those rules carefully, you may end up having to pay late interest charges. So, for instance, if you buy £30 worth of clothes through Buy Now Pay Later and you miss the deadline for paying back the money, some firms will charge you extra. Buy Now Pay Later firms may also end up logging those late charges with credit reference agencies, the companies that compile your credit report, so that could end up damaging your credit score. And finally, if you don't pay back what you owe, lenders will turn to a debt collection agency and they'll go to great lengths to try to get the money from you. If you end up at this stage, it can be quite unpleasant and intrusive. And again, it'll almost certainly harm your credit score. So what do you need to know if you're thinking about using Buy Now Pay Later? The first big question is, do I need to borrow this money? When you're at the checkout, stop and think. Am I buying too much stuff? Have I loaded up my cart with a load of items and I can't afford them? If so, it might be a good time to walk away and do something else. Come back to that cart later. Ask yourself, do I need this stuff now? It isn't going anywhere, so why don't I wait until I get paid next month? And in the unlikely event your size does sell out or the item isn't available anymore, well, it really isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Get in the habit of budgeting so you know how much you can afford to spend on clothes and other fun stuff, and stick to that limit because that will give you peace of mind and help you avoid the hassle and risks of needlessly borrowing money. Don't get me wrong, credit isn't all bad, and if you run your budget well and you know you'll pay back what you owe on time, there's nothing wrong with using credit to help smooth your cash flow. But it's not a substitute for budgeting and more mindful shopping. I mean, think about it. Is buying more stuff really the answer to our problems? Is it doing more harm than good in terms of the environment, given how many clothes we throw away each year? All these questions should be in our minds when we see that option at the checkout. If in doubt, leave it out. If you do decide to use Buy Now, Pay Later, make a very clear note of when you have to pay the money back. Put a reminder in your phone, in your calendar, tattoo it on your forehead, do whatever you need to do. Also, make sure you are in contact with the firm you've borrowed money from and that their emails and texts aren't going into any spam folder or to a wrong number. If you want to be extra secure, make sure you transfer the money you need to pay into a separate savings pot. Also, make sure you will actually be able to pay back what you owe. If you go on a £200 spending spree, but you don't actually have that much left over after you pay all your bills next month, well, you're in trouble. So if you do use Buy Now, Pay Later, keep the amounts relatively small so you're not overstretching yourself. And finally, if you think there's any chance you might miss a payment, get in touch with the Buy Now, Pay Later firm straight away to let them know. You may be able to come to an agreement about when you can pay the money back. But whatever you do, don't ignore the problem and hope it will just go away. Tackle it head on so it doesn't blow up into a big crisis. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about Buy Now, Pay Later. But if you want to know more, I recommend checking out guides from Money Saving Expert and Which. Talk to you again soon.